Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Oh, you poor, screaming, screeching leftoids. Are you guys okay? Are you guys alright? Oh my lord, friends, you guys should see the absolute copium, the meltdown that is currently happening on Twitter from the student loan forgiveness crowd. And of course, once again, the only question that arises, the only thing that I'm thinking about is, what did you think was going to happen? What did you expect after voting for such a dishonest, career, empty suit politician? What did you think was going to happen on his promises? You know, Donald Trump was the man of promises made, promises kept, and you were warned about Joe Biden that he is not that guy. He is the exact polar opposite. He's Mr. Big Promises under-deliver. He's Mr. Big Promises, pretend to be your best friend and then backstab you almost immediately after he gets what he wants, which is getting elected. And that's exactly what's happened once again with Sleepy Joe. He catered to the far-left crowd, he made promise after promise, and the moment Joe Biden's polling numbers started to hit an all-time low and Democrats were in the stinker, what did Joe Biden do? He came up with the Inflation Reduction Act and followed it up with student loan forgiveness, broad, sweeping student loan forgiveness for anyone making less than $125,000 a year. Or rather, it might have been households making less than $125,000 a year, and I think the individual was less than 75 grand if I'm not mistaken. We'll probably refresh and look into the actual numbers throughout this video, but anyways, you guys get the point. The leftist crowd was happy. Of course, it didn't go far enough for them, but they were happy that they were getting at least something. And here we go again, just as you might have expected the inevitable result here. Joe Biden has already reneged on his promise. He's already backstabbed the far left base that he was catering to, as he just very stealthily behind the scenes cut his student loan forgiveness plan. You can't make this stuff up, but it's also not exactly surprising. It's exactly what we were expecting. Joe Biden has betrayed you, far leftoids, once again. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on here. We've got some stuff to get into, folks, so let's roll the tape. Alright, folks, so here's the betrayal that nobody seems to be talking about except people that are paying attention. Biden's stealth change to student loan forgiveness scheme could cut out millions of borrowers. The Biden regime quietly changed the fine print of its student loan debt forgiveness plan Thursday, cutting hundreds of thousands of borrowers out of the sweeping program. The change to the Department of Education website, made without announcement amid legal challenges, leaves out federal family education loans, which included the once popular Perkins loans. Those loans were issued by private banks but guaranteed by the government under a program that the Obama administration ended in 2010. The site previously advised those borrowers to consolidate the loans into the Federal Direct Loan Program in order to be eligible for up to $20,000 of relief. As of September 29, 2022, borrowers with federal student loans not held by ED cannot obtain one-time debt relief by consolidating those loans into direct loans, the site now advises, although it says borrowers who consolidated and applied before September 29 remain eligible for relief. More than 4 million borrowers still have commercially held FFEL loans, but officials said that only 800,000 are expected to be affected. That's because many either are not eligible for relief under income guidelines or have other outstanding student loans that are eligible to be forgiven. The reversal follows legal challenges to the Biden administration's sweeping plan, which the Congressional Budget Office estimates will cost $400 billion. But of course, we've seen estimates up to $1 trillion, which I'm probably more inclined to believe is a better picture or more accurate. So hundreds of thousands, potentially even millions of people who were promised and told by the president that they could secure up to $20,000 of student loan relief have just been betrayed. And only those who acted extremely quickly now face the possibility of having their student loans forgiven. Actually, if you really think about it, regardless of the outcome here, this is just bad policy and everyone's gonna get screwed. I mean, that's pretty much the inevitable result. But this Joe Biden reversal or Joe Biden flip-flop, whatever you want to call it, this Joe Biden betrayal, is most likely happening because of the legal opposition from conservatives. What Joe Biden is doing here is clearly unconstitutional. It's very possible that these private Perkins loans that are being converted to federal loans, some sort of legal vulnerability might have been found, and so the Biden admin had to scrap support for those specific types of loans. Well, this is likely to continue to occur because the whole student loan forgiveness plan is totally unconstitutional to begin with. Federal loans and forgiveness of debt can only be enacted through Congress. A president doesn't have the authority to just issue an executive order and cancel people's debt Joe Biden tomorrow can't just say that we're canceling mortgage payments. And of course, we previously covered the shoddy legal argument to begin with, using the Bush-era HEROES Act, which of course we know is an emergency measure meant to target veterans. Joe Biden argues that it is an emergency, the ongoing COOF pandemic. I find that funny though, because what was it, just like a couple weeks ago, during Joe Biden's 60-minute interview, he literally claimed that the pandemic is over, yet somehow still has the justification to declare an emergency or to claim that the emergency is still ongoing, and that because of said emergency, people's student loans must be canceled. The whole thing is just ridiculous. It's being challenged in court, as CNN is reporting.
In our money lead, President Biden's estimated $400 billion plan to cancel some student debt faces a new legal challenge. A lawsuit filed today by a public interest attorney in Indiana is looking to stop Biden's forgiveness plan before it takes effect. The argument is that the policy is an abuse of executive power. Let's bring in CNN's Rahel Solomon. Rahel, what more do we know about this lawsuit?
Well, Jake, as you pointed out, at the center of the lawsuit is that lawyer. His name is Frank Garrison from Indiana. He says that as part of Biden's student loan forgiveness program, his student loan debt will be automatically wiped, and he doesn't want it to be. So we know that 8 million borrowers will have their student debt forgiveness automatically wiped, and he says that is part of the problem. It's going to leave him with a tax bill that will ultimately leave him worse off than if he continued. Hard to believe. Hard to believe.
During Jake Tapper's show, they downplayed the legitimacy of these lawsuits, but folks, it's very simple. Joe Biden doesn't have the legal authority to cancel student loans. Even Nancy Pelosi admitted it.
People think that the President of the United States, is this more on the subject than you ever want to know? Will you let me know? People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress.
I'm pretty sure this case is as clear as day. It's currently being blocked in court. Eventually, it's probably going to get up to the Supreme Court, and chances are Joe Biden's ridiculous election ploy is probably going to crash and burn. And I call it an election ploy because that's probably exactly what it is. The Democrats probably knew that this thing was going to be challenged in court and that it wasn't going to go through, and so they thought they could get some decent press with the far left, pretend as if they're doing something, and as their plan inevitably fails, their thought process is that ultimately, probably in the end, they won't be to blame. Republicans will. I mean, Chuck Schumer's already started. Schumer curses Republicans opposing Biden's student loan cancellation plan. The narrative is that Republicans don't care about the people. That's what they tell you. But the reality is, opposing Joe Biden's student loan vote-grabbing bribe is caring for the people. Working class people don't have very expensive, fancy college degrees. At least the majority of them don't. Student loan forgiveness benefits the top 5% of earners. We've covered the economic analysis, and it's going to inevitably lead to increases in taxes. I mean, just take a look at all of these socialist democracies with supposed free education programs. People in those countries making $100,000 a year, in many cases, are taxed at 50% and sometimes a little bit higher. The government takes half of their salary and then doubles up with carbon taxes and sales taxes that are through the roof. The average citizen in those countries is taxed to oblivion. You can't run these massive deficits and keep passing these massive spending packages without increasing taxes significantly. And it's not going to come from the rich 1%. It's going to come from you, from your pocket. Wake up, folks. Conservatives aren't trying to take something away from you. They're trying to save you from your own bad decision making. Have you learned nothing from the inflation crisis that is currently happening? But that's what I got for you guys in this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. I'm going to get back to work. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.